Part 5, candidates. I want to talk about what the clinch definition of a candidate is, because this is quite different to historical thinking. Previously, when we've thought about candidates in the past, we've thought about people who are applying for jobs, who are putting their hand up and saying, I'm interested in that job. But the world's changed. The world's changed in the way in which people connect. Some of the research we've carried out indicates that the average length of time somebody will be connected or following an organisation before they apply to them is, on average, a minimum of 7 months. And they will have up to 40 different touch points in which they follow them. So it might be following people on Twitter, it might be LinkedIn connections with people within your organisation who do the same role, it might be with following your career site, signing up for your talent network, joining your talent community, joining in your discussions, subscribing to your YouTube channel, reading your blog, any of that kind of stuff, but actually following and building up a relationship. That's what we consider to be candidates. It's all these people who have chosen to connect with you. And the difference with a candidate and an applicant is a candidate will be a candidate for as long as they choose to be. So what is our job with a candidate? Number one is to keep them connected. But many of them are not actively applying at the moment. They're not putting their hands up with jobs. They just like our company, they like our brand. So we've got to be very specific about the content that we send them. So content has to be very relevant, has to be targeted based on what we know about the candidate, based on the data we were able to collect and the relationship we have. And then we lead into another marketing technique, which you would use if you were a product marketeer, where we talk about lead targeting. It's understanding the way in which people, the journey that they go on when they move from being someone who is interested or curious to someone who's actually applying. We can begin to see that and identify those people who are candidates or applicants. And we're going to talk a bit more about applicants in the next section. But the key point is always 3 things you need to think about. The 3 R's of messaging, 3 R's of content, 3 R's of communication. Number 1, anything you send out has to be researched. Has to be researched as to who is the audience, who do we need to send it to, what do we need to say to them. When we use the data that we collect to do that, we use things like what did they look at before, what have they opened in the past, what do they not open now. Then it needs to be referenced. This is the reason we're communicating with you today. This is why we think this would be interesting to you. This is why we think would be useful. And then the last thing is it has to be relevant. Anything that's seen as not being relevant is seen as spam. And in our society, we have a very low tolerance for spam. Tinder society, left swipe, get rid of anything you don't want. Emails, communication, doesn't matter what it is. Get rid of things quickly. You're almost definitely receiving it on a mobile device. So think about that and think, right, okay, if it's not relevant, we'll probably get rid of it. So we need a high degree of relevance to not be considered spam, because that's what makes people want to keep subscribing, makes them want to open the content that we send them every time, and really builds the relationship with those candidates who will ultimately become your applicants.